The ancient Stoics understood a profound truth that modern science has only recently begun to validate. How you begin your day determines the trajectory of your entire life. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor who ruled the Roman Empire at its zenith, didn't wake up thinking about his vast power or immense wealth. Instead, he began each day with a practice that would make him unstoppable, not through external force, but through internal mastery. This isn't just another productivity hack or morning routine. This is about transforming your very relationship with existence itself. The Stoics discovered that certain morning practices don't just improve your day. They forge an unbreakable character that can withstand any storm life throws at you. Today, we're going to explore the morning habits that made the greatest minds in history truly unstoppable. These aren't just theoretical concepts. They're battle-tested practices that have guided leaders through wars, philosophers through persecution, and ordinary people through extraordinary challenges. Chapter 1. The Stoic Understanding of Morning Power. Why morning matters to the Stoic mind. The Stoics believed that the morning hours held special significance because they represent our daily rebirth, a chance to align ourselves with virtue and reason before the chaos of the world intrudes. Seneca wrote extensively about how the early hours of the day are when our minds are clearest, our willpower strongest, and our capacity for wisdom at its peak. But here's what most people miss about Stoic morning practices. They're not about productivity in the modern sense. They're about building what the Stoics called ataraxia, unshakable tranquility. When you master your mornings through Stoic principles, you become like a mountain in a storm, unmoved by external circumstances, rooted in something deeper than temporary emotions or fleeting desires. The Roman Stoic Epictetus, who lived as a slave before becoming one of history's most influential philosophers, understood that true freedom comes not from external circumstances, but from internal discipline. His morning practices were designed to cultivate this inner freedom, regardless of what the day might bring. The science behind Stoic morning wisdom. Modern neuroscience has confirmed what the Stoics intuited over 2,000 years ago. Our brains undergo specific changes during sleep that make the morning hours uniquely powerful for establishing mental patterns that will govern our entire day. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for executive function, decision-making, and emotional regulation, is at its peak capacity in the morning. When we engage in Stoic practices during these crucial hours, we're literally rewiring our brains for resilience, wisdom, and unshakable inner strength. The neuroplasticity research shows that consistent morning practices create lasting changes in brain structure, making virtuous responses to challenges more automatic over time. This is why Marcus Aurelius could lead armies, govern an empire, and face personal tragedies with such remarkable equanimity. His morning practices had fundamentally altered his neural pathways to default to wisdom rather than emotional reactivity. Chapter 2. The 5 Pillars of Stoic Morning Mastery. Pillar 1. Morning Reflection, Premeditatio Malorum. The first pillar of Stoic morning practice is what Seneca called Premeditatio Malorum, the premeditation of evils. This isn't pessimism or negative thinking. It's strategic mental preparation that makes you psychologically anti-fragile. Every morning, the practicing Stoic spends time contemplating potential challenges, setbacks, or difficulties they might face during the day. But here's the crucial distinction. They don't do this to worry or catastrophize. They do it to mentally rehearse their virtuous response to whatever might occur. Marcus Aurelius demonstrated this practice beautifully in his personal journal, which we now know as Meditations. He would write things like, "Today I will meet interference, ingratitude, insolence, disloyalty, ill will, and selfishness. But I won't be surprised or disturbed, for I can't imagine a world without such people." This morning reflection serves multiple purposes. First, it eliminates the shock and emotional destabilization that typically occurs when we encounter unexpected difficulties. When you've already mentally prepared for challenges, you respond from a place of wisdom rather than reactive emotion. Second, it reinforces your commitment to virtue regardless of circumstances. By visualizing yourself responding to difficulties with courage, justice, temperance, and wisdom, you're programming your subconscious mind to default to these responses. Third, it cultivates genuine gratitude for what you have by temporarily imagining its absence. When you mentally rehearse losing your health, relationships, or possessions, you return to your actual circumstances with renewed appreciation and perspective. The practical application is simple but profound. Spend 10 to 15 minutes each morning quietly contemplating potential challenges and visualizing your ideal response. Don't focus on the problems themselves. Focus on your character in response to those problems. Pillar 2. The morning pages of wisdom. The second pillar involves what we might call philosophical journaling, a practice of writing that clarifies thinking and reinforces Stoic principles. This isn't the same as modern journaling practices focused on emotions or daily events. Stoic morning writing is specifically designed to align your thinking with philosophical truth and practical wisdom. Seneca exemplified this practice in his letters to Lucilius, many of which were written in the early morning hours. These weren't casual correspondence. They were disciplined exercises in applying Stoic philosophy to real-world situations. Your morning writing practice might include philosophical questions. Begin each day by writing responses to fundamental questions like what is truly within my control today, or how can I practice virtue in my specific circumstances? These questions force you to move beyond abstract philosophy into concrete application. Principle reinforcement. Write out key Stoic principles in your own words, making them personally relevant to your current life situation. For example, you might explore what living according to nature means for your career, relationships, or personal growth. Evening review preparation. Set intentions for how you want to evaluate your day that evening. What virtues will you focus on? What specific behaviors will you monitor? This creates a framework for continuous improvement. Gratitude with depth. Rather than superficial gratitude lists, engage in what Seneca called negative visualization, writing about what you're grateful for by contemplating its impermanence. This isn't morbid. It's a practice that intensifies appreciation and reduces attachment. The key is consistency rather than length. Even 5 minutes of focused philosophical writing can set a foundation of wisdom that influences your entire day. Pillar 3. Physical discipline as mental training. The Stoics understood that physical discipline and mental discipline are inseparably connected. They didn't view the body as separate from the mind, but as the primary tool through which philosophical principles are practiced and embodied. Marcus Aurelius was known for his rigorous physical training, not because he was vain about his appearance, but because he understood that physical discipline builds the mental muscles necessary for virtue. When you can wake up early despite wanting to sleep, exercise despite feeling tired, or eat simply despite craving luxury, you're building the same psychological strength needed to choose virtue over vice in more complex situations. The Stoic approach to morning physical practice includes several elements. Early rising. Waking up before you feel naturally inclined to do so is a daily practice in choosing discipline over comfort. The Stoics viewed this as fundamental training in preferring what is beneficial over what is merely pleasant. Cold exposure. Seneca regularly practiced cold baths, not for health benefits, though they exist, but as training in voluntary discomfort. When you can remain calm and controlled during voluntary physical discomfort, you build resilience for involuntary difficulties. Simple movement. The goal isn't athletic performance, but character development, whether it's walking, stretching, or basic exercises. The key is doing something physical that requires you to act despite not feeling motivated. Mindful embodiment. Pay attention to physical sensations without immediately trying to change or avoid them. This builds the psychological skill of observing without reactive judgment, a cornerstone of Stoic philosophy. Remember, the physical practice serves the philosophical goal. You're not trying to optimize your body. You're using your body to optimize your character. Pillar 4. Contemplation of cosmic perspective. One of the most powerful Stoic practices is what Marcus Aurelius called the view from above, deliberately expanding your perspective to see your daily concerns within the context of the cosmos and eternity. This isn't escapism. It's a practice that cultivates appropriate perspective and emotional equilibrium. In the morning, before the day's urgencies take hold, spend time contemplating. Temporal perspective. Consider how your current concerns will appear in 1 year, 10 years, or a century. This isn't meant to minimize legitimate problems, but to distinguish between what deserves intense emotional investment and what doesn't. Spatial perspective. Imagine your location within your city, country, continent, planet, solar system, and galaxy. This practice helps dissolve the ego-driven anxiety that comes from taking our personal dramas too seriously. Historical perspective. Remember that countless humans before you have faced similar challenges, felt similar emotions, and dealt with similar problems. You're part of a vast human story, not the sole protagonist of reality. Natural perspective. Contemplate your connection to the natural world, the air you breathe, the water that sustains you, the earth that supports you. This reinforces the Stoic understanding that you're part of a larger whole, not a separate entity struggling against the world. This practice accomplishes something crucial. It dissolves the artificial sense of separation and opposition that creates most of our suffering. When you truly grasp your place in the cosmic order, petty annoyances lose their power to disturb your peace. Pillar 5. Intention setting through virtue ethics. The final pillar involves setting intentions for the day that are grounded in virtue rather than outcomes. Most people set intentions focused on what they want to achieve or acquire. Stoics set intentions focused on who they want to be and how they want to behave. This distinction is revolutionary. When your daily intentions are character-based rather than outcome-based, you maintain agency regardless of external circumstances. You can always choose to be courageous, just temperate, and wise. But you can't always control whether your projects succeed or your plans unfold as expected. Virtue-based goal setting. Instead of "I will close 3 sales today," try "I will approach my work with integrity and persistence, regardless of outcomes." Instead of "I will have a good day," try "I will respond to whatever happens with wisdom and grace." Role-based intentions. The Stoics emphasize that we play multiple roles: parent, citizen, professional, friend. Set specific intentions for how you want to embody virtue in each role. How will you be a good parent today? How will you fulfill your duties as a citizen? How will you serve others through your work? Character development focus. Identify one specific aspect of character you want to develop and set a concrete intention around it. If you're working on patience, you might intend to pause and breathe before responding to frustrating situations. If you're developing courage, you might intend to speak up when you witness injustice. Service orientation. Set intentions focused on how you can serve the common good. The Stoics believed that virtue is inherently social. We become our best selves by contributing to the welfare of others and the larger community. The power of virtue-based intentions is that they're always achievable. External circumstances might prevent you from reaching outcome-based goals, but nothing can prevent you from choosing virtue except your own decisions. Chapter 3. The Advanced Stoic Morning Practices. The practice of memento mori. Advanced Stoic practitioners incorporate regular contemplation of mortality, not as morbid obsession, but as a practice that brings clarity and urgency to what truly matters. Seneca wrote, "Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end." In the morning, spend a few minutes honestly confronting the reality that this day could be your last. This isn't meant to create anxiety, but to dissolve trivial concerns and highlight what deserves your attention and energy. Daily death meditation. Visualize your life ending today. What would you regret not having done? What would you be proud of? What relationships would you want to repair? What words would you want to speak? This practice cuts through social conditioning and reveals your authentic values. Legacy contemplation. Consider what kind of person you want to be remembered as, not in terms of achievements or possessions, but in terms of character. How do you want to have impacted others? What example do you want to have set? Impermanence awareness. Contemplate the temporary nature of everything you're attached to: your possessions, your roles, your relationships, your body, your thoughts. This isn't depressing. It's liberating. When you truly grasp impermanence, you hold things lightly and appreciate them fully. The discipline of assent. This advanced practice involves carefully examining your initial reactions and judgments before accepting them as true. The Stoics understood that most human suffering comes not from events themselves, but from our judgments about events. Each morning, Prepare yourself to practice this discipline throughout the day. Initial impression awareness. Commit to noticing your immediate reactions to situations, the automatic judgments, assumptions, and emotional responses that arise before conscious thought. Judgment examination. Before accepting any strong emotional reaction, ask yourself, is this judgment helping me respond wisely? Is it based on facts or assumptions? Does it align with virtue or serve ego? Response choice. Recognize that between stimulus and response, there's always a space for choice. You don't have to react automatically to your initial impressions. Truth versus interpretation. Practice distinguishing between what actually happened and your interpretation of what happened. Most distress comes from interpretation rather than events themselves. The practice of philosophical dialogue. Advanced practitioners engage in internal dialogue with the great Stoic teachers, using their wisdom to guide daily decisions and responses. Morning consultation. Begin each day by mentally consulting Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, or Epictetus about specific challenges you're facing. What would they advise? How would they approach your situation? Throughout the day, check-ins. When facing difficult decisions, pause and ask, what would a person of perfect virtue do in this situation? This isn't about perfection, but about having a clear standard to guide your choices. Evening dialogue. End each day by imagining a conversation with a Stoic teacher about how you handled various situations. What would they praise? What would they suggest you improve? Chapter 4. Integrating Stoic morning practices into modern life. Adapting ancient wisdom to contemporary challenges. The beauty of Stoic philosophy is its timeless applicability. The same principles that helped ancient Romans navigate political upheaval, military campaigns, and personal tragedies can help modern people navigate career challenges, relationship difficulties, and existential uncertainty. Technology integration. Use technology to support rather than distract from your morning practices. Set reminders for reflection time. Use apps that provide daily Stoic quotes for contemplation, or maintain digital journals for philosophical writing. Time management. Start small and build consistency. Even 5 minutes of genuine Stoic practice is more valuable than 30 minutes of distracted routine. Focus on quality over quantity, depth over duration. Family integration. If you have family responsibilities, adapt the practices to include others. Share morning reflections with your spouse. Teach children about gratitude and perspective, or model virtue-based decision-making. Professional application. Let your morning practices influence your professional life. Approach work challenges with the patience and wisdom you've cultivated. Treat colleagues with the respect and understanding you've developed. And pursue career goals with the proper perspective you've gained. Common obstacles and solutions. The consistency challenge. Most people struggle with maintaining morning practices long-term. The Stoic solution is to focus on character rather than performance. Missing a day doesn't make you a failure. It makes you human. What matters is returning to the practice with renewed commitment. The time excuse. You don't need hours for effective Stoic morning practice. The ancient Stoics were busy people, emperors, senators, teachers, who found time for what mattered most. Prioritize consistency over duration. The skepticism barrier. Some people dismiss Stoic practices as outdated or impractical. Remember that these practices have been tested by history and validated by modern psychology. Judge them by their results in your life, not by preconceptions. The perfection trap. Stoicism isn't about becoming perfect. It's about making consistent progress toward virtue. Expect to fall short of your ideals. The growth happens in the continued effort to improve. Building your personal Stoic morning routine. Start with these foundational elements and gradually build a practice that fits your life. Week 1 to 2. Focus on early rising and 5 minutes of morning reflection. Simply wake up 15 minutes earlier than usual and spend that time thinking about the day ahead and how you want to respond to challenges. Week 3 to 4. Add brief journaling. Write 1 paragraph about your intentions for the day, focusing on character rather than outcomes. Week 5 to 6. Incorporate physical discipline. Add 1 element of voluntary discomfort or physical practice that builds mental resilience. Week 7 to 8. Begin perspective practices. Spend a few minutes contemplating your place in the larger scheme of things. Week 9 to 10. Integrate virtue-based intention setting. Focus your goals on who you want to be rather than what you want to achieve. Ongoing. Continuously refine and deepen your practice based on what serves your growth toward virtue. Chapter 5. The Transformation. Becoming truly unstoppable. What unstoppable means to a Stoic. When we say these morning habits make you unstoppable, we're not talking about external invincibility or guaranteed success in worldly terms. We're talking about something far more profound. The development of a character so grounded in virtue and wisdom that no external circumstance can shake your fundamental peace and purpose. The truly unstoppable person is one who maintains inner tranquility regardless of external chaos. When your peace depends on virtue rather than circumstances, no event can destroy your essential well-being. Responds to challenges with wisdom rather than reactivity. Instead of being controlled by emotions and impulses, you choose responses based on reason and principle. Finds meaning and purpose independent of external validation. Your sense of worth and direction comes from character development and service to others, not from achievements or recognition. Faces setbacks with resilience and learning. Obstacles become opportunities for growth. Failures become lessons in wisdom. And difficulties become chances to practice virtue. Lives with authentic freedom. True freedom isn't the ability to do whatever you want. It's the ability to want what is virtuous and beneficial. The long-term effects of Stoic morning practice. People who consistently practice Stoic morning habits report profound changes that extend far beyond improved productivity or better days. Emotional stability. Life's ups and downs become less dramatic. You experience genuine emotions without being controlled by them. Clarity of purpose. When you regularly contemplate virtue and cosmic perspective, you naturally align with what truly matters and let go of trivial pursuits. Improved relationships. As you become less reactive and more virtue-focused, your relationships naturally improve. You become someone others can depend on for wisdom and support. Professional effectiveness. Paradoxically, by focusing less on outcomes and more on character, you often achieve better results because you approach challenges with patience, persistence, and wisdom. Spiritual depth. Whether or not you're religious, Stoic practices connect you to something larger than ego and personal desire, providing a sense of meaning and belonging. Resilience in crisis. When serious challenges arise, illness, loss, failure, injustice, you have a foundation of practiced wisdom to draw upon. Case studies in Stoic transformation. The executive under pressure. Sarah, a corporate executive, began practicing Stoic morning routines during a particularly stressful period involving layoffs and restructuring. Initially skeptical, she found that starting each day with perspective practices and virtue-based intentions transformed her leadership style. Instead of reacting to crisis with panic or anger, she responded with strategic thinking and genuine concern for her team's welfare. The morning practices didn't solve her business problems, but they gave her the internal resources to handle them wisely. The parent in chaos. Mark, a single father of 3 young children, felt overwhelmed by the daily chaos of managing work and family responsibilities. The parent in chaos. Mark, a single father of 3 young children, felt overwhelmed by the daily chaos of managing work and family responsibilities. He adapted Stoic morning practices to fit his 5-minute window before the children woke up. This brief time of reflection and intention setting provided an anchor of calm that influenced his entire day. Instead of losing patience with normal childhood behavior, he found himself responding with understanding and appropriate discipline. The children began to mirror his increased emotional stability. The student facing uncertainty. Jessica, a graduate student dealing with academic pressure and career uncertainty about the future, discovered that morning practices focused on what was within her control transformed her relationship with stress. Instead of being paralyzed by anxiety about future outcomes, she focused her energy on daily preparation, quality work, and character development. Her academic performance improved not because she worked harder, but because she worked with greater focus and less internal resistance. The ripple effect. How personal transformation affects others. One of the most remarkable aspects of Stoic morning practices is how personal transformation naturally influences others. When you become more stable, wise, and virtue-focused, you create ripples that extend far beyond your own life. Modeling virtue. Others observe your responses to challenges and begin to question their own reactive patterns. You become a living example of an alternative way to engage with life's difficulties. Creating safety. People feel safer around those who are emotionally stable and principled. Your family, friends, and colleagues begin to trust that you won't react destructively to stress or conflict. Raising standards. Your commitment to virtue and wisdom subtly challenges others to examine their own standards and priorities. This isn't preachy or judgmental. It's the natural influence of authentic character, contributing to common good. As you become more focused on service and less focused on personal gain, you naturally contribute more effectively to your communities and relationships. Sustaining long-term practice. The key to maintaining Stoic morning practices over years and decades is understanding that they're not techniques to be mastered, but ways of life to be continually deepened. Embrace imperfection. You'll have off days, missed practices, and moments of falling short of your ideals. This is part of the human experience, not a failure of the philosophy. Adapt and evolve. As your life circumstances change, allow your practices to evolve while maintaining their essential spirit and purpose. Find community, whether through books, online groups, or local meetups. Connect with others who share your commitment to virtue and wisdom. Remember the why. Regularly return to the fundamental purpose of these practices, not self-improvement for its own sake, but the development of character that serves others and contributes to the good of all. Chapter 6. Beyond Personal Development. The Stoic Vision of Human Flourishing. From self-help to service. Modern approaches to morning routines often focus primarily on personal optimization, better performance, increased productivity, enhanced mood. While Stoic practices certainly produce these benefits, their ultimate purpose transcends self-improvement. The Stoics believed that individual virtue and wisdom were valuable precisely because they enabled greater service to the common good. Marcus Aurelius, despite being the most powerful man in the ancient world, understood his morning practices as preparation for better service to his subjects and the empire. His personal disciplines weren't about self-advancement, but about becoming the kind of person who could wisely handle enormous responsibilities. This perspective transforms morning practices from selfish routines into acts of preparation for contribution. When you develop emotional stability, clear thinking, and principled decision-making, you become more capable of wise leadership. Whether you're leading a family, team, organization, or community, your morning cultivated wisdom enables you to make decisions that serve long-term flourishing rather than short-term convenience. Compassionate response. As you become less reactive to your own difficulties, you develop greater capacity for understanding and helping others with theirs. Creative problem-solving. Mental clarity and emotional stability provide the psychological space necessary for innovative thinking and effective solutions to complex challenges. Authentic teaching. You can only teach what you've learned to embody. As you develop genuine virtue through practice, you become capable of guiding others toward their own character development. The social dimension of Stoic practice. Individual Stoic practice always serves social flourishing. The four cardinal virtues, wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, are inherently relational. Wisdom enables you to see situations clearly and respond appropriately, benefiting everyone involved in your decisions. Courage allows you to do what's right even when it's difficult, protecting and serving others through principled action. Justice ensures that your actions consider the welfare of others and contribute to fair and beneficial outcomes. Temperance prevents you from taking more than your share or indulging desires that harm yourself or others. When your morning practices cultivate these virtues, you become what the Stoics called a citizen of the world, someone whose character serves the flourishing of all humanity, not just personal interests. The environmental impact of Stoic character. Contemporary environmental challenges require exactly the kind of character that Stoic practices develop. Long-term thinking. Morning perspective practices naturally cultivate concern for future generations rather than immediate gratification. Voluntary simplicity. Practices of voluntary discomfort and gratitude for what you have reduce the compulsive consumption that drives environmental destruction. Systematic wisdom. The Stoic understanding of interconnectedness aligns perfectly with ecological thinking about the web of relationships that sustain life. Moral courage. Environmental challenges require the willingness to change comfortable patterns and speak truth to power. Exactly what Stoic practices develop. Global citizenship through personal practice. The morning habits that make you personally unstoppable simultaneously contribute to what the Stoics envisioned as the cosmopolis, a world community based on virtue and mutual care. Your daily practices become part of a larger movement toward rational discourse. As you develop the ability to examine your own judgments and respond thoughtfully rather than reactively, you contribute to more reasonable public dialogue. Ethical leadership. In whatever sphere you have influence, family, workplace, community, your character-based approach to decision-making models an alternative to purely self-interested action. Peaceful conflict resolution. Stoic practices develop the emotional regulation and perspective necessary for resolving conflicts constructively rather than destructively. Cultural wisdom. As more individuals develop genuine wisdom and virtue, entire cultures can shift toward more beneficial values and practices. The daily revolution. The morning habits we've explored aren't just personal practices. They're revolutionary acts. In a world that often seems dominated by reactivity, superficiality, and self-interest, choosing to begin each day with reflection, virtue cultivation, and service orientation is a radical statement about what human life can be. Every morning, you have the opportunity to join a tradition that extends back over 2 millennia, a tradition of individuals who refused to let circumstances determine their character, who chose wisdom over ignorance, virtue over vice, service over selfishness. The ancient Stoics faced challenges that make our modern difficulties seem manageable by comparison. Plagues, wars, political upheaval, slavery, exile, death of children. Yet they discovered practices that not only helped them endure these challenges, but transform them into opportunities for growth and service. You have access to the same wisdom, the same practices, the same potential for transformation. The only question is whether you'll choose to use them. Your journey begins tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning, when your alarm sounds, you'll face the same choice that has confronted every person throughout history. Will you let the day happen to you, or will you prepare to meet it with wisdom and virtue? The Stoic path isn't easy, but it's simple. It doesn't promise external success, but it offers something far more valuable. The development of character that no circumstance can touch, peace that no crisis can destroy, and purpose that no failure can diminish. The morning habits that make you unstoppable aren't about optimizing your performance or improving your mood, though they'll do both. They're about becoming the kind of person the world needs, someone who can be counted on for wisdom in confusion, courage in difficulty, justice in conflict, and temperance in excess. The ancient Stoics began each day knowing they might face death, exile, or the collapse of everything they held dear. Yet they maintained their practices, developed their character, and served the common good with unshakable dedication. Your challenges are different, but the solution is the same. Daily commitment to virtue, daily cultivation of wisdom, daily preparation to meet whatever comes with grace and strength. The revolution begins tomorrow morning, when you choose to wake up not just to another day, but to another opportunity to become who you're capable of being. The Stoics are waiting to welcome you into their ranks, not as perfect philosophers, but as fellow travelers committed to the lifelong journey of becoming truly human. Your morning practices are your daily vote for the kind of world you want to live in and the kind of person you want to be. Choose wisely. The world is waiting for who you might become. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Marcus Aurelius. Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. Seneca. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Epictetus. The morning awaits. Your transformation begins now.